Today we're talking about another of Jean-Prieur Duplessis' blog posts on Wayist Life Community. So, what have you discovered today?
You know what's mind-blowing? Most people think Jesus' teachings were purely Western, but historical evidence shows he actually spent years traveling through Asia, studying with Buddhist monks, Hindu mystics, and Taoist masters. He then proceeded to show them all how their faith is based on ancient Wayist teachings, and in some places they had drifted away. He was more of a reformer of religions, rather than just teaching Wayism. It completely transforms how we understand his message.
That's fascinating, and honestly, not something I ever learned in any history class. What kind of evidence are we talking about here?
Well, historical records show he traveled extensively during what scholars call the lost years. Though they weren't really lost at all, he spent significant time studying at the Library of Alexandria in Egypt, exchanged wisdom with Zoroastrian teachers in Parthia, and even made it as far as Kashmir in northern India.
Hold on, he went all the way to India? How was that even possible in ancient times?
You know, that's what's so interesting. The ancient world was far more connected than most people realize. There were established trade routes like the Silk Road connecting China to the Mediterranean, the spice routes linking India to Egypt, and the Persian Royal Road connecting the Middle East with Central Asia.
Hmm, so these weren't just roads for trading goods then?
Exactly, they were highways for the exchange of ideas and spiritual practices. And when you look at Jesus' original teachings, you start seeing these remarkable parallels with Eastern traditions. His emphasis on compassion and non-attachment mirrors Buddhist teachings. His understanding of divine consciousness connects with Hindu concepts of Atman, and his teaching about natural flow aligns perfectly with Taoist concepts.
That's really interesting. Do you think these similarities are just coincidental?
Not at all. The connections are too specific and numerous. Take his healing practices, for example. They show clear parallels with Buddhist energy work, Hindu prana-based healing, and Taoist qi practices. What made Jesus remarkable wasn't just that he encountered these traditions, it was his ability to recognize and integrate their universal wisdom.
So, in a way, he was more of a synthesizer of universal wisdom, revitalizing an ancient philosophy rather than someone creating an entirely new religion?
Precisely. And what's fascinating is that after his crucifixion, his teachings spread naturally along these same trade routes eastward. We can see the evidence in later developments, like the compassion-centered reforms in Mahayana Buddhism in 78 AD that came because of the Wayist influence, certain Taoist energy practices, and the Bhakti movement in Hinduism that came within a few decades after Jesus.
You know what strikes me about this? It really challenges our modern notion of religions being these separate, isolated systems.
Well, that's one of the most important implications for today. When we understand that Jesus himself was engaged in this kind of cross-cultural spiritual exchange, it becomes harder to justify religious exclusivity. Instead, we can focus on recognizing the universal wisdom that flows through all traditions.
That seems particularly relevant for our modern world, where religious differences often create more division than unity.
Absolutely. The Jesus who traveled from Egypt to China, teaching and learning across cultural boundaries, offers us a powerful model for how to approach spirituality in our globally connected world. It's about moving beyond artificial divisions and recognizing our shared human journey.
How do you think this understanding might change interfaith dialogue today?
Well, instead of focusing on differences, we can look for these common threads of wisdom that Jesus apparently recognized. It's fascinating to think that this understanding might have been more common in the ancient world, where people were already used to this kind of cultural exchange.
So, in a way, we're not discovering something new, we're rediscovering something that was understood long ago?
Exactly. And perhaps that's the most valuable lesson we can take from this historical understanding, that wisdom doesn't belong to any one tradition or culture, but flows naturally across boundaries when we're open to recognizing it. Jesus' example shows us how to embrace this universal Wayist approach to spirituality.
That's such a powerful message for our time. Finding unity not by ignoring our differences, but by recognizing the deeper connections that have always been there.
You know, that really gets to the heart of it. The legacy of Jesus' journey isn't just about the specific teachings he shared. It's about this model of recognizing and celebrating universal wisdom that transcends all cultural and religious boundaries. We don't have to subscribe to the angry deities the religions made. As we face the challenges of our increasingly interconnected world in which religions are failing people, that message feels more relevant than ever.
Well, that was interesting, thank you. Listeners can head over to the community at wayist.life and get yourself some more of this inspiration. Also, the book, Jesus the Wayist, is available from Amazon. Have a beautiful energy day, y'all. Bye now.